Shane Reivers' fiancée to Rebecca Tisley was reported missing on October 26, 2019. Rebecca was found near a gas station 3 miles west from Yellowstone National Park. She and her fiancé had decided to celebrate their engagement by venturing off into Yellowstone and camping through the weekend. Rebecca was found huddling beside a trash can and seemingly lost in a trance. She incoherently murmured about a horrifying creature stalking Yellowstone forest. Shortly after that, a group of college students were reported missing, and Rebecca's fiancé, Shane, was the only person who saw what happened. He recorded the events in detail, and because of that, introduced the world to Lucy Luna, a horrifying specter from another world. I invite you to join me on this episode of Lost Tapes. My name is Shane Reivers, and I never meant for any of this to happen. My fiancée, I hope she got away. There's something here in Yellowstone. Allow me to start this from the beginning. My fiancée and I wanted to go out and celebrate our engagement. I proposed at our favorite restaurant. Rebecca, she seemed to glow that night. Her hair was topped back into a tight bun, and she wore red lipstick. She was stunning, beautiful. I felt those butterflies again, the same ones I felt when I saw her for the first time 6 years ago. Her touch, her voice, everything about her illuminates the darkest pits of my soul. Without her, I can't live, but I digress. She is a wonderful woman, and I am lucky to have her in my life. And so it was no surprise that when it came time to propose, I hesitated. I didn't want to be that guy who is on one knee digesting rejection. No, I felt it out beforehand. She was waiting, eager for me to make my move, and so I did. I dropped to one knee, and the world behind her faded into oblivion. Her eyes, her skin, her touch, the scent of her perfume captured every part of my attention. She said yes. I had planned to go to Yellowstone because it was there I first saw her, standing beside a geyser, marveling at its power and radiant beauty, but it all paled in comparison to her smile. I knew on that day that we would wed, and no sooner had I approached. I asked for her name and phone number. 6 years had passed since that day, and we had yet to return to Yellowstone. So last night, when we finally did return, I was overjoyed. We stood before the geyser in which we met, and something streaked across the sky. It was bright red, and behind it followed a glowing blue tail. About 30 yards away, it struck the earth, and for a moment, the world stood still and quiet. Not a cricket, nor an owl, or even the rustle of wind danced in our ears. Silence has this way of growing, becoming louder, indistinguishable, yet something I can hear. I stood beside Rebecca and then stepped forward. She clasped her hand in mine, and I felt her engagement ring. Suddenly, I heard something horrifying. Someone screamed the name Lucy, and for her to come back. I looked forward and saw the trees in front of me moving, and then a faint red glow. I drew a hard squint, if only to see what moved behind the brush and trees. But no, nothing. I could hear them, the sound of something tearing, their cries, and what I think was them running away. I turned toward Rebecca, and her stare was cold, frozen, and locked in fear. Sweat and terror washed over us both as something pale and white emerged from the forest. I looked away from the thing because I couldn't tell what it was, only that it was coming for us. I pushed Rebecca and demanded she run. She kissed me on my lips and pleaded for me to not let this moment be our last one. It won't be. I refused to succumb to whatever is in front of me. I stepped forward as Rebecca took a step back. I saw the creature in front of me, a pale girl with blonde hair. I glanced at the moon and noticed it was full. This girl in front of me, she wore something resembling a yellow clown costume. I had turned my attention to the moon, and it was then that I came up with the name, Lucy Luna. I think that's what I'll refer to her as now. Rachel Meadows, or as her friends called her, Lucy, was reported missing on October 27th, just one day after Shane. Rebecca indicated that Lucy looked similar to the woman she saw in the forest and echoed the statement her fiancé made in his lost tape. Lucy's face, it was distorted. When asked to describe what she saw, Rebecca couldn't explain or provide a coherent sentence that could aid in the search and rescue of Lucy and her friends. Only 12 hours after returning home, Rebecca was taken into custody and interviewed by 3 men in black suits. Their presence alerted Rebecca's neighbor and caught her attention as they refused to leave Rebecca's home. A black SUV has been spotted outside Rebecca's home. However, the make and model elude the observing neighbor who saw them. She wrote an article and published it in the Rocky Times newspaper. It read, "These men in black are combing the entire area around Rebecca's home. They've talked to me and everyone else in this neighborhood and asked if any of us know anything, and they want us to talk. And as for why, I don't know. They just want to know what she was doing, but I'm not saying anything." I hadn't noticed Rebecca ran so far away from me until I made it a point to look away from Lucy. I stood in the empty forest where only the trees were brave enough to stand. Lucy was thin, her clothes torn, and her hair was long and stringy. Where her eyes should have been was something resembling eye sockets. From what I could tell, it looked like her face was drawn out by something that doesn't actually understand what a human face is. She didn't have a mouth, and her face was flat where her nose should have been. I stood still in shock as Lucy took a step forward. The clown shirt she wore was pale yellow and resembled something similar to a dress. This thing, the costume that is, it wasn't over the top by any means. It was just a simple, cheap clown costume. Her face was painted black and orange, Halloween colors, and now that I studied it longer, it looked like something had removed her mouth and nose and smeared makeup in places where her missing facial features should have been. As I stood still, a red seam appeared down the middle of her face, and her skin, an eye. A single lone eyeball stared at me, and from the sides of it slithered 2 squid-like tentacles. They were black and glistened against the full glow of the moon. Sharp hooks made of bone glimmered beneath the pale light, and they dripped with. I shifted my focus behind Lucy. There I saw a vast rock which was split in half. Perhaps that is the vehicle this alien creature used. I turned on my heel and sprinted away from Lucy, but that didn't seem to matter. Her footsteps sounded louder than mine, faster than mine. I felt the cool autumn air brush against my cheeks as I ran, but no matter how hard I tried, her footsteps grew in volume as they came closer. I saw a vast log across the way and ran toward it. Once I reached it, I turned right and sprinted along the side of it. A single tentacle swung past my ear and smacked into the tree. It shredded the bark it scraped against while Lucy continued to pursue. She swung another tentacle and it latched onto another tree and ripped off the bark entirely. October 29th, 3 days after Shane's disappearance, Yellowstone National Park was closed due to a supposed fungal outbreak. The Yellowstone National Park Reserve issued a statement which read, We have regretfully made the decision to close Yellowstone National Park until this fungal outbreak is under control. A new fungus has taken root in Yellowstone forests and has proven to be fatal when inhaled. The spores released by this fungus are odorless and contain high levels of arsenic. Therefore, we encourage visitors to go elsewhere for their Halloween festivities. The lead investigator of the Yellowstone disappearances declined to perform a search and rescue and warned that it was too dangerous to enter Yellowstone National Park, and they would wait until the fungal outbreak was under control. Despite the park's reserve's efforts to keep people safe, citizens still enter the park, and no sooner, they too were reported missing in the coming week. I stared at the tree which took the brunt of Lucy's attack. It had 2 rows of holes in it, 3 on top, 3 on bottom. Each hole was about half an inch in diameter and punctured about 2 inches deep. My stomach turned as I heard her behind me. Something resembling a hiss grew louder as her footsteps came closer. The tentacle sailed through the air and past my left ear. It crashed into the tree before me. This was the first time I saw it up close. It was veiny, nearly jet black, and smooth, like a frog's back or a salamander's skin. Clear goo dripped from it, and then I lit a flare. I pushed the flame into the tentacle, and no sooner Lucy's stomach it roared in agony, but this did not discourage Lucy. She sprinted across the leaves and brush. Where her face should have been was the split open valley, and at its center was a single eye. Its glare bore into me as I ran. Off in the distance I heard a crack and then a roar. A bullet flew past me from a location unknown, a second bullet and then a third. I turned around, if only to see if Lucy had been laid to rest, but no, what was already a bad situation had become so much worse. 3 to 4 tentacles emerged from the gunshot wound. They spun and writhed as they reached for me. The gunman, hiding in a place I could not see, fired once, twice, 3 times before they paused. Lucy's left shoulder, abdomen, right arm, and heart had felt the stings of anger, but even still, she did not relent. Before the shooter's efforts to rescue me had been proven to be in vain, there were only 2 tentacles, but now there are more than 20. Her focus shifted away from me and on the person assailing her. She found him. Crouching low in the forest, he hid in a bush. A single tentacle clasped around his calf, and on the other end was his neck. The man wore a gray sweatshirt, tan pants, and a black hat. He appeared to be in his 50s. His gaze turned toward me, and I stood still, frozen, afraid, terrified. Another tentacle pushed Lucy Luna ate that too. I trembled away from her and scurried into the forest. Thankfully, I don't think she heard or saw me, but I fear I may have been wrong. As more people visited Yellowstone against the reserve's wishes, sightings of a young, pale woman with blonde hair began to circulate. Her name, coined by Shane Reivers' lost tape, Lucy Luna, became something resembling legend, much like Bloody Mary. Those who saw her saw little else, but as truth and tragedy spread, so did the rumors surrounding Lucy Luna, who she was, what she was, and where she came from. The Yellowstone Chronicle published an article which read, "Lucy Luna, a brand new wonder to behold, just in time for Halloween, and coincidentally, around the same time a fungal outbreak shut down the park." Yellowstone is met with an unforeseen attraction. I, Eric Mottson, the esteemed editor of this paper, believe that what we are witnessing is nothing more than a resurgence of the clown hoax from 2016. Here's a news flash for the desperate girl seeking attention. No one cares about clowns anymore. Lucy Luna's face. Two tentacles swam through the air. From what I can tell, I think this creature is either smelling or tasting the atmosphere, perhaps searching for my scent. As I sat, more tentacles tasted in the air. They moved together like fingers on a hand, uniform, all as one. I sank deeper into the brush of the forest until it was nearly impossible to see her. As I waited, I heard the muffled cry of a single woman. She patted around her face in the areas where her mouth, nose, and eyes should have been, but she felt nothing. "Help," she pleaded. My ears perked up as my heart raced. She continued, someone, don't help me." Though her cries were muffled because she didn't have a mouth, I feel I could understand her. I think I understood her, and therefore I could only assume what she said. I stepped closer to the edge of the brush and saw Lucy sitting alone, on her knees with her arms resting at her sides. The tentacles receded back into her body, but the holes the bullets created remained. I watched as Lucy looked around the forest, desperate, afraid. She looked in my direction, but then somewhere else. She couldn't see. How could she? She cried, "Someone, please help." I removed a set of binoculars and gazed at her. Her face, it was still twisted, and she looked around as though she were blind. I know the alien is still in her body. I know that. She patted around on the floor and mumbled, "Where's my phone? I need my phone." Lucy rubbed her forehead and patted around her face. I want to help her, but I don't know how. I saw the parasite hiding in her body already split. I saw it. I remember it. The single eye which gazed at me. The woman before me. Is she even alive? I don't know. Lucy fell to her hands and knees. She patted around the forest floor, hoping to find her cell phone, but it was in vain. As she remained on all fours, she released a terrifying scream, and then I saw it. I looked at the skull and shuddered once I realized the man's eyes were still in its sockets. I know they are void of life, but as they looked into me, I felt that somehow they still possessed some kind of soul. They haunted me, and so I took a step back. A branch snapped beneath my foot, and Lucy, she heard it. She turned her gaze upwards and looked in my direction. My skin ran cold as my senses sharpened. The mouth in her stomach, it closed, and then there she was, motionless and whole, as if she never had a mouth in her stomach. She sat silent, still. I took a breath in, and she noticed. Lucy crawled a foot toward me, and then, as the air around me stood still, a tentacle erupted from where her eyes should have been and spiraled toward me. More than 15 disappearances in Yellowstone Park had been reported. Despite the park being shut down, the local environmental reserve released a statement. It read, "Anyone considering visiting the park should make other plans. There is strong evidence to support the claim that this fungus consumes living tissue. Lab studies have proven that this fungus consumes anything it touches. Please, please, for the sake of your families, stay out of Yellowstone National Park. There is a serious fungal outbreak. We will no longer perform search and rescues, nor will we respond to any emergency calls. To put it simply, if you sneak into the park and get into trouble, don't call us, because we're not going to rescue you." Despite the reserve's warnings, more people thought that an ideal time to camp was during a fungal outbreak in early November. Rebecca, Shane's fiancée, was among the first to speak up. She published an article in her online journal which read, "An alien crash landed in Yellowstone. Whatever it is, it made that poor girl a host, and now the government is lying about it. There isn't a fungal outbreak. However, people, stop being so stupid and going into Yellowstone Park. There's an alien roaming the forest there, and it's eating everything." Alien enthusiasts saw this moment of harsh warning as an opportune time to go alien hunting, and they congregated near an open patch of land on the southwest border of Yellowstone National Park. I ran deeper into the forest. Her footsteps grew louder as the distance between us closed. I turned around a tree, jumped down a shallow bank, but no matter what I did, Lucy, she kept pace. With the tentacles before her leading the way, she chased me. My lungs ached, my legs, arms, and back. Everything hurt. I sprinted to the edge of a lake and waded into the water. Lucy ran to the shore's edge, and the tentacles, they studied it as though they didn't know what the water was. They tasted it. They stared at its own reflection. For a moment, it was still. I think it doesn't know. It doesn't understand what water actually is. A single tentacle struck the water. I took advantage of the moment and took a deep breath. Cold water brushed against my skin as I dove beneath the surface. I pushed through the water and swam as far as I could until I couldn't reach the bottom. Once I turned around, I saw the alien staring at me, and then it focused on its own reflection. It doesn't know what to do or what I am doing. I treaded water as Lucy stepped deeper into it, and then I heard her muffled cries once more. I think she said, What am I doing here? Why is this happening to me?" Lucy, she pattered around the water, unsure, afraid. She stepped backward out of the lake and sat on the beach. She bellowed, "Someone help me, I can't see." Her screaming was muffled, but I think I know what's happening. Since the alien doesn't know what water actually is, it doesn't understand that I'm swimming. And so when the alien is confronted with something it doesn't understand, it gives Lucy control. I can only assume Lucy knows how to swim and what water is, obviously, but the alien doesn't. I think I know now. I think I understand. As I floated in the lake, I heard faint voices far off in the distance. No. I waved my hands as I stared in the direction of the approaching people. I counted them. 2, 3, 4, 5. I shouted, "Go back." A man wearing a black baseball cap and a tank top with an alien's head on the front emerged from the forest and walked to the edge of the beach. He waved at me, and and took a sip of beer. He said, "Good day to go swimming and find an alien, am I right? Let's go meet him." I screamed, "Go away." I scanned the shoreline for Lucy. I couldn't see her, but I know she's there. The man yelled, "Hey, why don't you come up here and meet my wife and kids? And it's really not too safe for you to be out there swimming at the lake at sunset. What if you drowned?" My stomach sank. His wife and kids. No. A 4-year-old boy and 7-year-old girl joined him on the beach. What do I do? Stand and fight or run away? I thought hard, real hard. I pushed farther away from the beach. His wife emerged from the forest, wheeling behind her a red and white cooler. The man removed his backpack and a can of bug spray. He proceeded to spray himself and his children. I pushed farther out into the lake, and they seemed to shrink in the distance. I blinked hard and looked at the sky above. It's orangish pink. The sun is setting upon us, and I watched as he and his wife popped up the tent. I saw her then, about 20 feet away from the camping spot. Lucy Luna. I screamed, I begged, I hollered, all for them to leave, but they ignored me. The husband got himself another beer while his wife readied the campfire. I think they plan on eating s'mores, but that doesn't matter now. Lucy's tentacles emerged from the holes in her body, and they faced the family. They slithered toward them. No. I covered my ears and closed my eyes, and then I swam away. I'm laying on my back on the other side of the lake. My arms, my legs, well, everything hurts. I heard them scream. They all screamed. I don't know where Lucy is, but I am going to mail this tape off to my mom. I've had a lot of time to think about it, but the thing is, I haven't seen a single helicopter or anyone's flashlights or really anything else to indicate that someone is looking for us. Rebecca would have called them, right? And they'd be looking for me, but now I'm not so sure. Lucy Luna is destroying people here and leaving little behind. Their families would have reported them missing too, right? And if that's the case, why wouldn't the government come looking for us? It doesn't matter now. I'm going to mail the tape off to someone I know will do something with it. So I end it with this. Mom, I am entrusting you with what could possibly be my final words. I love you, miss you, and I hope you're doing well. If I don't make it back home, know that I'll be looking down on you from heaven. I've seen something horrible in Yellowstone. I think the government might cover it up, but it doesn't matter, I guess. Sincerely yours, your son, Shane. A family of 5 was reported missing on November 5th. Their whereabouts have yet to be discovered. In total, by December of that same year, 43 people were reported missing. 183 people filed a police report describing in exhaustive detail Lucy Luna and alleging that she is an alien. The Bureau of Anomalous Phenomena published a statement on December 12th. It read, "After conducting an exhaustive search effort to find more than 40 people in Yellowstone National Park, their connection with the flesh-eating fungus, and the urban legends surrounding a lone camper whose real name was Rachel Meadows, we have concluded that these rumors have created an air of intrigue and misinformation regarding the events which transpired between October and December of this year. Rachel Meadows, who went by the alias Lucy Lapel, was reported missing along with her friends. It had been alleged that Shane Reivers and his fiancée were involved in this mystery at some point in time, but after a thorough investigation, we have concluded that the two individuals in question had never existed. Shane Reivers does not, nor ever has, had any record of any kind in the United States, along with his supposed fiancée, Rebecca Tisley. In light of this new information, we concluded that this fungal outbreak led to mass hysteria, rumors, and misinformation. If you would like to learn more about this case or any others pertaining to this phenomenon, feel free to check out our website. There we have published all of the facts. Also, it is worth noting that the fungus in question has spread to Yellowstone National Forest, and because of that, it will be temporarily closed. Anyone who tries to trespass any of the security fences will be met with lethal force.